Hello and welcome back to Spooky Season Reviews. This is your next. What's up? I'm John Starr from ActTheMovieGuy.com, and I'm still doing these dark reviews. For Halloween, looking at spooky, scary movies that you can watch this Halloween. So, this is your next. It's directed by Adam Wingard, and it's currently available on Netflix with audio description. Look at that. That's pretty cool. So Adam Wingard is somebody who originally kind of started out in horror and eventually found his way to the Godzilla franchise. But on the way, he also directed a rather brutal and violent little slasher thing called Your Next. It's the kind of film that doesn't really have like a solid cast in it that probably could have skipped theaters and people wouldn't necessarily have noticed, and they would have found it later and been like, oh, have you seen this really great horror movie? It's like really cool. Like, didn't go to theaters or anything, but it's like really cool. Sort of like how I feel like I've done that for Hush like 1,000 times, like Mike Flanagan's Hush. People are like, oh, have you seen a horror movie that you thought? I was like, Hush was really good. Oh, yeah, it is. You know, but it didn't really light a fire at the box office. But Your Next did have the opportunity to do that. And therefore, more people know what it is. So this is the movie with the animal masks. It's basically The Strangers, if The Strangers was made by somebody who was like, you know what? What if there were more people, and what if this was more violent? What if there was a much higher body count? What if? You have a whole bunch of people stalking this house full of, honestly, complete randoms. Like, let's be honest. If you've seen Your Next, I know this is like, you're probably like, this is not fair. They like kind of have, they don't have characters. These are just like people who they're introduced really early on, and there's no development here. There's no backstory. There's no like, we're on the road, we're driving to our cabin. Oh my god, this is amazing. Like, it's really hard to even like figure out for the most part like who is friends, who's related to who's with who, like who's anything. Uh, some of it is a little bit easier because just the way it kind of like unfolds. I think there are like two characters that we started with. Actually, well, there's an opening sequence, but then after that, when we see the rest of the characters, I should say, the main characters in the film, then from that point, they're like sort of like the first two characters, Paul and Allison. I don't know. I feel like there are two girls that had like A names in this. There was definitely like an Amy, and yeah. Anyway, so they're just like really just sort of meant to feel like they're there to be killed off. So that way when or if any of them fight back, it's like, wow, okay, well this is changing up the game since this character has no backstory. There's no reason to like them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing tying us emotionally to these characters. So the only thing is just sort of like watching brutal violence happening to people. It's like, is that fun for you? Like, how much do you really root for the killers in the situation when you don't know A, why they're doing it, and B, why these people are being killed? Like, are these good people, bad people? Was there any motive for these killers? Like, everything, Adam Wingard just like leaves all of that at the top of the film, just off the table. It's all gone. There's just some people in a house, and there's some insane people wearing animal masks who are coming in hot. They so yeah, it's brutal, it's bloody, it's violent. It's Scary? Question mark. I don't know. It depends on your vibe for things. It's definitely more violent and gory than it is. This will scare some people, but I'm not going to say like universally this is designed to scare everybody. Some people have just seen a lot of slasher movies. It does feel like The Strangers on crack, so that's probably the best compliment I can give to it is it feels like it's The Strangers if the strangers were like, we're coming in, and they're like not wasting any time. They're not playing around. They're not just like standing out in the yard anymore. They're just like, they're not taunting them or anything and being like, why won't you leave us alone? None of that. No, they're like, listen up. We're here and we have machetes and shit and we're coming in and you're going to die. I love some of their traps, the way that they're set up. But what really makes the film interesting is, like I said, when people start sort of fighting back and turning the tables, and then it's like, ooh, who's gonna win here? Will it be the killers, or will it be those that have survived long enough and figured out ways to fight back? Who will that be? And then Adam Wingard decides, sort of late stage, to throw in a plot. So, which makes the movie sort of interesting, but also is like, well, we're going to explain what the hell's going on here. And then you're like, oh, did I need to know what was behind the curtain? I don't know. I guess, sort of. For me, that was kind of like the least interesting thing. I was like, oh, there's a reason for this. Damn. I kind of just liked his like random, just sort of like, all right, let's do this attitude, where it just kind of like kicks off and everything starts really fast. Because like this movie does not, I would say this is a not fuck around movie. Like it just opens up and we go. Like there's like an opening sequence that's some people that are unrelated who horrific things happen to, and then the next place is like our main group where like more horrific things. So like he just doesn't waste any time. Like he doesn't develop characters, but he also doesn't waste time. Like we're with them for maybe like, I would say 5 minutes tops before something happens. I feel like it was a very short period of time, and there's a lot of characters to develop, and none of them really get developed, and they're all sort of having like meaningless conversation. None of it is like expository in ways where you're like, "Ah, Sam, will you tell Jeff over there to stop staring at my boobs? We broke up, okay?" Like, where you're just like, okay, well, I'm learning a lot of things here. So that's Sam, that's Jeff. She broke up with Jeff, like it all just kind of feels like, yeah, so what's, I don't know, I'm not really doing anything. Oh, he's using, no, yeah, I'm on, it's you're like, okay, well, this is a non-conversation. So it feels like a lot of that. Um, so yeah, it's definitely an interesting film. Audio description on this, I thought was pretty well done. It definitely went hard for the horror. It was balanced well. I like the voice. Everything narratively worked for me. Like nothing was distracting. I wasn't like, ooh. And I also was never like, oh well, that feels very tame considering everything else that's going on. There are like some reveals and stuff. He goes for some, I would say, attempts at jump scares. Nothing was revealed like too early, where I was like, I felt like things were ruined. So really well paced for a horror film, all things considered. So yeah, I thought this was a really good experience, especially for audio description wise. Um, Overall, I mean, I'm sure if I uh, really like sought out something, I could find like one little nitpicky thing and be like, well, um, maybe not that, but this is no. The whole thing is just about like the vibe from beginning to end. If you really want to get into the weeds on quality control, that's what that is. It's like, well, what about the best? And by that point, it's already been done. So I'm sitting here just able to enjoy a film I've never seen before. And am I able to follow it? Yeah. Was I able to quote unquote enjoy every kill sequence? Sure. You know, I'm not somebody who just enjoys random brutality, but I do like slasher movies, so I'm sort of like at odds here because it is basically a slasher movie, but it also is a slasher movie without purpose in the beginning. So you're just sort of like, okay, well, we're just gonna watch people get killed. The movie, the fun, you know. It's a weird movie, but um, so yeah, I had some mixed feelings on it, but by the end, it tries to give it a plot, and for the most part, I think it's a strong horror movie. So I think people will like it. I'm gonna give Your Next a B plus. So check it out this Halloween on Netflix. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.